Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has laid out a plan for Gaza ahead of the meeting by the Security Cabinet. He's told reporters that Palestinians would be allowed to govern Gaza as long as there's no threat to Israel. He's also repeated that Hamas members would not be involved. But Israeli media is reporting the Security Cabinet meeting descended into chaos before Gallant's plan was discussed. Far-right ministers are said to have ended up in a shouting match with the Army's Chief of Staff about the investigation into the Hamas attack on October the 7th. I'm going to speak to Laura Khan, who's in occupied East Jerusalem. Tell us about Yoav Gallant's plan and what happened at the meeting.
Well, first of all, this is the very first framework that's been laid out about the day after the war in Gaza. And as you said, and as Israel has reiterated time and time again, there will be no Hamas ruling. Instead, there will be a Palestinian entity. There was a question whether the Palestinian Authority that rules some of the occupied West Bank would be involved, but they want limited involvement from them. But it all comes with pretty big conditions. One of them is that Israel will maintain a land, sea and air blockade and very tight restrictions and control over Gaza, making the day after seem a lot like the day before. There will also be an international coalition, which includes Western nations and possibly some Arab nations taking care of internal security. So there are many conditions to grapple with, but certainly no Hamas control, that's a given. Now, this was going to be presented in a wider War and Security Cabinet meeting. That meeting descended into chaos, according to Israeli media. Herzl Halevi, who is the Army Chief of Staff, has set up a probe about what happened on October the 7th, the security issues surrounding the Hamas offensive. But the people who he's got involved in this probe has created a big issue for the far-right wing ministers. They complained that these were also involved in the 2005 unilateral pullout of the Israelis from Gaza. And many of them want to see Israel retake control of Gaza. They also accused him of bowing down to international pressure in creating this probe during a war. They said it simply shouldn't be happening now. But what we got from Israeli media is people could hear shouting all the way down the corridor, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu cancelled the meeting after 3 hours without even discussing this. Now, speaking of international pressure, Anthony Blinken and the US Secretary of State will be coming. He will want to discuss what's going to happen the day after, alongside what's happening in Gaza currently and whether they will begin to pull back some troops and create more surgical operations in a third stage. But also, more importantly, what's happening with the captives. More of them have died since he was last here, so there will be certainly many questions.
Yeah, Laura, stay with us for a moment. We're going to take a look at what's happening in the occupied West Bank. A 17-year-old Palestinian has been killed in Beit Rima, that's northwest of Ramallah, as Israeli raids continue. 7 other Palestinians have also been injured. The Palestinian Red Crescent says 2 ambulances in 2 towns have been hit, one by rubber bullets, one by live rounds. Crews inside are said to have been injured. We'll go back to Laura now. So we've been reporting on the fact that the Nur Shams raid has lasted for about 30 hours, well over 30 hours now. The raids are still going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, at least 30 hours in Nur Shams. We know that there have been fierce confrontations. There's been snipers on the roof, including of one school. So we will keep you updated on that. There's no press allowed inside, and we know many ambulances have been blocked. Now, the person who was killed in Beit Rima, he is Osaid Tariq al-Rumawi. He was 17 years old. So this just happened northwest of Ramallah. We also know there were many raids happening throughout the occupied West Bank, as we've been seeing on a daily basis. One was in a Balata refugee camp near Nablus. We know that, as you said, ambulances have been attacked, and there's also been some armed confrontations between Palestinians there and Israelis. And there's all the way from the north to the very south, there's been raids from Jenin, Qalqilya, Tubas, all the way down to Hebron, and also here in occupied East Jerusalem. And the latest death has put the toll at 326 Palestinians since October 7th, and far more than 5,000 arrests, many people held in administrative detention without charge or trial.
Laura, thank you very much. That's Laura Khan talking to us from occupied East Jerusalem.